Chapter 21. The first obstacle was the doorman. Sue had called Kitty to tell her I'd be coming, and Kitty had responded with elaborate instructions. Get in the elevator, ride to the top floor, take the stairway to the roof, and then leap to the terrace. She lived in the penthouse on the 17th floor. The doorman was fierce, a gold-braided giant who was planted in the doorway with his arms across his chest. It was 20 of 11 on a bright Friday morning, and he looked as though he'd stand there till the cows came home. Spike said, "I hate to be a quitter, but I quit." "Just be patient," I told him. I glanced around the street. Exactly next door to this intimidating condo was its absolute opposite, a run-down building with a wide-open doorway and a mangy-looking hall. I motioned with my head, and we both trotted over and squinted through the door. A cramped marble lobby, a directory on the wall. I moved up and studied it. The building housed offices, dentists and accountants and literary agents, none of whom, I gathered, were doing very well since the lobby was deserted. I turned and looked around. A bad-looking elevator loomed against the wall, its old-fashioned indicator stuck at 17, the top of the building. Beside it was a door marked "Fire Exit. Keep this locked at all times." The door was propped open. I peered around the frame. Ahead was a stairway. To the side was a dark and very dismal-looking window propped open with a wedge. "Come on," I said to Spike. He stared. "You're not seriously suggesting that we walk?" "I'm not suggesting. I'm walking." I started up the stairs. When I got to the 8th landing, I stopped and took a rest, and heard Spike coming after me. I waited in the dark. "Why," he said weakly, "did you want to take the stairs?" "Because," I said thoughtfully, "the burglar's going to take them." "He is?" "I don't know, but I figure it's a good guess. I'm figuring there's no one in the building on the weekend. He'd come through the window, and he'd—" "What?" "We're going to see." We continued up the stairs, and then suddenly, for no good reason I could name, I stopped. I smelled trouble. My ears made a tense half-circle in the air. My neck hairs stiffened. A quick, cold finger played piano up my spine. I blinked and looked up. 2 floors above me, sitting on the banister's thick iron rail, was the biggest, toughest-looking cat I've ever seen. "You out of your turf, boy," he hissed and then growled. "Turn tail, you're meat." This cat wasn't kidding. He was 25 pounds worth of tiger-striped muscle and blood-speckled teeth. I drew a long breath. Spike, right beside me, had so many hairs up he looked like a porcupine, and just for an instant there I wished that he were. I trotted out my best tough cowboy imitation. "Easy, man," I drawled. "Relax, we're just a couple of strangers passing through." "Through the meat grinder, bub." And with that one he let out a kung fu battle cry and jetted from the rail. He didn't know his own strength. He was aiming right at us, but he picked up a tailwind that wouldn't let him go. He flew right past us like a fur-covered bullet and crumpled on the 2nd floor landing with a thud. For a moment after that, there was dead stone silence. "Hey!" I called after him. "You still want to fight?" Another long silence. Then he whispered in a small, choked soprano, "Never mind." Spike sighed deeply. We continued on our way. At the top of the stairway, a door labeled "Roof" stood conveniently ajar. The roof was black tar. A couple of Pepsi cans rolled around aimlessly and jingled in the breeze. There was nothing else to see except a low brick wall that made a border around the roof. I jumped to the top of it, and just as I had suspected, it immediately butted on the roof next door. "Some roof," I said softly. It was landscaped with flowers and paved with terracotta. There were deck chairs and lounges and little glass tables with blue striped umbrellas and a grill for cooking food. Spike came after me and whistled through his teeth. "It's a definitely yuppie rooftop," he said. We dropped the tiles. The roof was immense. About 1,000,000 yards away, a rectangular camera was perched above a blue metal door that read stairs. I went close and checked it out. "Uh-huh," I said. "Look at this. The camera takes your picture if you're coming through the door. And over there, around the door frame, look. You see the wire?" It was tacked against the frame. "What about it?" Spike looked at me. "It triggers an alarm. Therefore—" "I got it. I'm not stupid," Spike said. "Therefore, the burglar isn't coming through the door, and you were absolutely right." "So it seems," I said flatly, and suddenly the airwaves exploded into sound. I gritted my teeth, and Spike ran for cover as a barrel of rock music rolled across the air. A shattering, thundering, aerial bombardment of hard-hearted voices and electrified guitars. A woman's voice screeched at it, "Stop that racket!" The racket didn't stop. I sprinted to a catwalk at the corner of the roof and looked directly at the noise. Its obvious source was a 12-year-old boy on the terrace right below, sprawled on a blanket with a radio on his chest. At the corner of this terrace, a frantic and incredibly distressed-looking cat held her paws across her ears. "You either stop it this instant, or I'm calling the police. I'm very serious, young man." The young man didn't move. He lay with his eyes closed tightly to the sun. Then slowly his fingers sort of twitched around the dial. The music got softer. "Come on," I said to Spike. We dropped to the terrace. The cat who had been standing there streaked through a cat door and motioned for us to follow. The living room was small and surprisingly modest. The cat who was facing us was motherly and brown with very wide hazel eyes. "You don't know what it's been like here," she said by way of greeting. "It's been rock around the clock. You're Sam," she said efficiently. "And you, I guess, are Spike. If you boys want to look around for burglars, go ahead, only don't disturb the babies." I looked at the babies. There were 7 of them, bunking in a box marked "Breakable, this side up." Experience has taught me, if you're looking at a boxful of anybody's babies, you'd better say, "Beautiful," or otherwise you're dead. "Very beautiful," I said. She beamed me a look of such warm, loving pride, I was even glad I'd said it. "So they are." She kept smiling. "And a mighty lot of work. You know, being a single mother, that's a busy thing to do." "And Sue told you why we're here?" "Seems so," she said, wandering in circles around the box. "Long as that burglar doesn't catnap the babies, then it's all right with me." "Will you be home?" I said. "Saturday? No, we'll be away." I looked suddenly at Spike, who had been marching around the room. He leapt to a table and was staring in wonder at a small wooden box. "What's the matter?" I said quickly. "That," he said, pointing at the box, "is a matter of exceptional importance." "I'll bite," I said. "Why?" It looked on the surface like an ordinary box made of dark polished wood. "It's a music box," he said. "17th century and very, very rare." "Uh-huh." I looked away. I didn't care about the box. I was suddenly stricken with a sharp pang of doubt. I'd had everything figured, that Quark would come here, that he'd come here Saturday, even that he'd enter through the building next door. Only what if I was wrong? It was all just air, a theory arrived at on a ladder of assumptions. and my own first principle was never assume. Spike blathered on. I believe there were only 100 in existence, all of them made by the same Swiss craftsman. I still didn't care. What I needed was a good solid piece of information, a clue that would tell me I was on the right track. Sebastian Rumpelmayer, Spike said with awe. I turned and looked up at him. Say that again. Sebastian Rumpelmayer? I nodded. Coming up, Sebastian Rumpelmayer, Sebastian Rumpelmayer, Sebastian Rumpelmayer, Sebastian Rumpelmayer, I said. Quark told the dealer he'd be selling him the jade and something called a Rumpelmayer. Sunday afternoon. Then it's this one, Spike said. Most of the others are in Italy and France. I looked at Ms. Kitty. I think, I said urgently, we need to make a plan. As long as it doesn't hurt my little ones, she said. It's all right with me.